Thank you all for listening and watching my videos. Please subscribe and like my channel Master Coolitz. Hoping that you will not skip my ads. It's a big help for me by not skipping it. Thank you so much. Dragon Shadow. The Rise.
In the ominous silence of the fiery furnace blood prison, shadows loomed large, foretelling a fate no one dared to challenge. The place was infamous, a death sentence for anyone who ventured within. Yet, there they stood, on the brink of an unfathomable abyss. The air was thick with the smell of blood, the sky a constant eerie red. Every inch of the ground was stained crimson, and an oppressive silence blanketed the area, broken only by the occasional distant echo of a tormented soul. Leonard Hunter felt a surge of impulse to rush in, but he hesitated. The fiery furnace blood prison was a place of no return, where survival was a mere illusion. If one weren't in the expert level, it would be impossible to survive this place at all. The thought of entering such a cursed place made even the bravest warriors falter. To him, the two who had entered were already dead. He had heard the tales, whispered in hushed tones by those who barely escaped its clutches. Once inside, the blood prison played tricks on the mind, creating illusions so real that one couldn't distinguish between friend and foe, safety and peril. The prison was a labyrinth of horrors, where the screams of the lost echoed endlessly.
They might as well have chosen death by my hands. Better than what awaits them in there. Zane Martell, what a so-called genius. He won't even leave his bones behind.
His gaze was icy, fixed on the blood prison as the river, momentarily parted by his power, began to flow back, concealing the prison once more. The battle's scars on the landscape vanished, leaving no trace of the conflict. Soon, the river, which had been cut off by Leonard, began to recover and drown the fiery furnace blood prison below. Other than the giant peaks on both sides that were almost flattened by Leonard, there was no trace of a fight at the scene. A figure soared through the air, landing behind Leonard Hunter, a senior from the expert level, his face etched with urgency.
Young Master, urgent news. The sect leader, your father, he's been attacked and injured.
What? My father? Injured? Impossible. He's nearly invincible in the Northern Demon Country. Who could do such a thing?
His father was in the semi-martial king realm. If he was in his beast form, he would be infinitely close to the martial king realm. There were only a few people in the Northern Demon Country that were as strong as him. He was almost invincible. How could anyone hurt him?
It's true. The sect leader commands us to retreat, to stop chasing them.
But Ezekiel Martell...
Torn between duty and revenge, Leonard's face darkened. He stomped his foot in frustration before following the senior away. Moments later, Gabriel Stone appeared, surveying the area where Leonard had stood.
They escaped? Lucky them. These opponents are all too weak.
Gabriel's disappointment was palpable. No one had matched his strength since his release. Even the formidable Orion Slade had fallen swiftly under his blade. Just now, when he met Orion, he thought he had finally met a good opponent and wanted to put up a good fight. However, once Gabriel held his sword, the difference in strength between the two sides was immediately revealed. They were not on the same level at all. In just a face-to-face encounter, Orion was seriously injured by Gabriel. Then, he decisively fled. As Gabriel stood, Logan Stone and Tanix Martell arrived, their bodies bearing the marks of battle.
Senior, have you seen Zane?
I sense his presence. Don't worry, he should be fine. Follow me.
The trio moved quickly, guided by the faint trace of Zane's presence. Their footsteps were silent against the blood-soaked ground, a stark contrast to the chaos that surrounded them. The fiery furnace blood prison was a realm of nightmares, and every second spent within its boundaries felt like an eternity. As they pressed forward, the air grew thicker with the scent of blood and the oppressive weight of despair. Inside the fiery furnace blood prison, the world spun wildly before Zane's eyes until it abruptly halted. The scene that greeted him was nothing short of nightmarish. He blinked, trying to adjust to the crimson haze that enveloped everything. The air was filled with a pungent smell of blood, so strong that it formed visible wisps floating in the air. The sky was bloodshot red, with no sun or moon to be seen, casting an eerie glow over the barren landscape. Blood filled the air, forming visible wisps against a crimson sky. The earth itself was stained red, devoid of life. An eerie silence enveloped everything save for their own voices. There was no grass, not even a dead branch or a leaf. It was an absolute dead silence. Other than the voices of the two of them, there was not even the slightest sound, causing them to feel a chill in their hearts.
Elora, are you okay?
I'm fine, just a little weak. This place, it's truly horrifying.
They stood in a river of blood, its branches leading to unknown horrors. The river, hundreds of meters wide, flowed with a thick, viscous liquid that clung to their bodies. As they left the river, their soaked clothes quickly dried by their vital energy. The ground beneath their feet was a sickly red, as if soaked in blood for centuries. The sky was a perpetual twilight, casting an eerie red glow over everything. They found no shelter, no mountains, no trees, only a vast, barren landscape. Eventually, they stumbled upon a mountain of corpses, a grotesque monument of skeletal remains. Tens of thousands of skeletons piled up together, forming a dense mountain of corpses. It was a sight that would haunt their dreams forever, a testament to the countless lives lost within this cursed place. Exhausted, they settled near the corpse mountain to heal. Zane handed Elora some medicinal pills, then took his own, using the devouring dragon technique to speed his recovery. The pills were a lifeline, a small comfort in an otherwise hellish environment. As they meditated, the energy from the pills coursed through their bodies, knitting their wounds and restoring their strength. As time passed, their injuries mended. The recent battle with Leonard Hunter had revealed the gaps in Zane's strength. He knew he had to reach the expert level soon to survive in the northern demon country and beyond. The battle with Leonard had been a harsh reminder of his limitations. He couldn't afford to be complacent. His enemies were too powerful and too relentless. While Elora rested, a strange purple aura surrounded her, intriguing Zane. The aura was otherworldly, a shimmering veil that seemed to pulse with a life of its own. He turned his attention to a yellow jade pendant from his father, deep in thought. The pendant was an enigma, a relic that held secrets he was only beginning to uncover.
This jade pendant, it's the same as the one that gave me the dragon prison and technique. Does father know its secrets? Is it tied to the relic of the Marshal Royal?
Questions swirled in Zane's mind. The pendant held unimaginable power, capable of reshaping his destiny. He pondered whether it had similar functions. His father had given it to him with purpose. There had to be a reason. What mysteries did it hold? What powers could it unlock? Finally, he decided to take the risk. With determination, he broke the jade pendant in two. The decision was not made lightly. He knew it could change everything. A yellow mass rose from the shattered pendant, swirling in the air before diving into Zane's forehead. The energy was warm, almost comforting, as it flowed through him, merging with his very essence. What new power had he unlocked? What secrets awaited him? The answers lay just beyond his grasp, shrouded in the unknown. His body trembled with the force of the new power, his mind racing with possibilities. What will Zane discover next in the depths of the fiery furnace blood prison? The story unfolded with a sudden burst of yellow light, engulfing Zane Martel entirely. He felt the scene around him change drastically, realizing he had entered the dragon prison. The familiar surroundings materialized around him with an almost eerie clarity. The air was thick with a sense of ancient power, the walls pulsating with a faint, rhythmic glow. Zane took a deep breath, the weight of the prison pressing down on his shoulders. His mind raced, recalling the first time he had entered this place, how it had been filled with hidden dangers and untold secrets.
Am I really here? What other changes might happen this time?
Zane was both shocked and overjoyed. The previous jade pendant had brought him great fortune, and now this second one from his father promised equal, if not greater, rewards. He wandered the prison, but to his disappointment, everything seemed unchanged. He moved cautiously, his eyes scanning every corner, hoping to find some clue, some indication that things had evolved. But all he found was the same, unchanged landscape.
So, there really isn't any difference?
He kicked a loose stone in frustration, watching it skitter across the floor before he sighed deeply. His disappointment was cut short by laughter echoing from the sky. Zane's heart raced as he looked up, spotting a dashing man in his early 30s, standing on the devouring dragon bone. The man's aura was undeniably powerful, his presence alone causing the air to vibrate with energy.
I can tell you're disappointed.
The man's presence was overwhelming, his blue and white robe fluttering in the wind, his eyes piercing like the brightest stars. He stood with an air of confidence and authority, exuding a sense of calm that belied the storm within. Zane felt a terrible sense of oppression. The man's gaze seemed to pierce through him, reading his every thought, his every fear.
Who are you? Why are you in my dragon prison?
Zane's body trembled as he stepped back, gripping his sky sword. The man's giggle was unnerving as he gracefully landed before Zane, his feet barely making a sound on the ground. The air between them crackled with unspoken tension, each moment stretching out, filled with potential danger. Zane's mind raced, trying to piece together what was happening. His grip on his sword tightened, knuckles turning white. The stranger's presence was not just intimidating, it was almost otherworldly, radiating an energy that seemed to hum through the very air.
Don't worry, I won't hurt you. I'm just an illusion, although I seem strong. I'm not a threat.
The man's voice was soothing, but Zane couldn't shake the feeling of unease. Up close, Zane saw the man's body was transparent, like a ghost. He relaxed slightly, but remained cautious. The transparency of the figure did little to ease Zane's wariness. The aura of power that radiated from him still felt tangible and threatening. Every instinct in Zane's body screamed at him to remain alert, to be ready for anything. This was no ordinary encounter, and the stakes felt incredibly high.
A mere spirit body with such a strong aura. How terrifying would he be at his peak?
He couldn't help but imagine the full extent of this man's power, what he could have achieved in his prime. The thought sent shivers down his spine, but curiosity drove him to press on. There was something compelling about the stranger, an enigmatic quality that demanded answers. Zane's heart pounded in his chest as he struggled to maintain his composure. The air was thick with tension, and every second felt like an eternity.
Why did you appear in my dragon prison?
The jade pendant you crushed just now provided me with energy.
The man nodded, smiling slightly. His smile was both reassuring and mysterious, leaving Zane with more questions than answers. The jade pendant, a simple token from his father, had unlocked something far more significant than he had anticipated. The implications of this revelation were staggering. Zane's mind raced, trying to comprehend the full scope of what he had stumbled upon. The stranger's calm demeanor only added to the enigma, each word carefully chosen, dripping with hidden meaning.
I've been here watching you cultivate and grow stronger.
Zane's mind raced. He had never imagined someone else could be in the dragon prison with him. The realization that he had been observed all this time sent a chill down his spine. His thoughts were a whirlwind of confusion and curiosity. Who was this man, and why had he been watching him? The implications were enormous, and Zane felt a mixture of vulnerability and intrigue. The weight of the stranger's gaze was almost palpable, as if he could see into Zane's very soul.
So who are you exactly?
The man's presence was overpowering, and Zane couldn't shake the feeling of being judged by an omnipotent force. He needed answers, and he needed them now. The aura of mystery surrounding the man was suffocating, and Zane's heart pounded in his chest as he awaited a response. Every fiber of his being was on high alert, ready to react to whatever might come next. The anticipation was nearly unbearable, a silent scream echoing in his mind.
I am Cassius Gray, the Wormhaven King.
The title struck Zane like a lightning bolt. The Wormhaven King was a legendary figure, master of the Wormhaven Palace. known throughout the continent. Tales of his power and wisdom were told in hushed tones, reverently acknowledging his unparalleled mastery. The mere mention of his name commanded respect and awe. Zane's skepticism, however, remained. He had to be sure.
You are the Wormhaven King? Prove it to me.
Cassius Gray's expression turned somber, a hint of self-mockery in his laugh. The laugh was laced with a bitterness that spoke of deep wounds and betrayals. His eyes, once filled with pride, now held a shadow of regret and sorrow, reflecting the heavy burdens he carried. The air between them seemed to grow colder, the weight of unspoken truths pressing down.
Looking down on the world, that's ironic.
Cassius Gray recounted his tale of betrayal and survival, his voice carrying the weight of decades of regret and pain. His words painted a picture of a man who had once stood at the pinnacle of power, only to be brought low by treachery. The story was filled with vivid imagery, bringing to life the fierce battles and harrowing escapes he had endured.
One of the 3 jade pendants that sealed the devouring dragon blood essence was snatched by Garrett Flynn, my treacherous disciple, while the other 2 were left behind at the cost of my life. In the fierce battle, I was gravely injured and only a trace of my spirit body remained. Desperate and weakened, I attached myself to one of the devouring dragon jade pendants and fell into a deep sleep.
Cassius Gray's voice was filled with a deep, abiding regret as he continued his tale, the weight of his betrayal heavy in the air.
My sleep lasted for decades. The pendant, by sheer chance, eventually fell into the hands of Ezekiel Martell. It was also a twist of fate that led Zane Martell to destroy the jade pendant, thereby obtaining the sealed devouring dragon blood essence. Only then did he gain access to the dragon prison and the devouring dragon technique.
Cassius Gray's eyes darkened, his expression a mix of bitterness and self-reproach. The legendary Wormhaven King, reduced to a mere shadow of his former self, his once mighty presence now a ghostly remnant attached to a pendant.
This is hilarious indeed. I never expected that I, the dignified Wormhaven King, would be so blind as to believe such a villain. I can't believe it led me to lose all my foundations, and I'm barely a human right now.
His voice shook with emotion, a mix of anger and sorrow that resonated with Zane.
I regret it. I shouldn't have trusted that devil so easily.
As Cassius Gray finished, the weight of his words hung heavy in the air. Zane's mind was a whirlwind of thoughts, trying to process the gravity of the revelations. The legendary figure before him had suffered unimaginable betrayal. And now Zane stood at the crossroads of his own fate, the echoes of the past whispering dire warnings for the future.